money is simply an echo of value, right? It's the thunder, if you will, to value's lightning. So for those people who really want to provide a lot of value and then understand that money is simply the result of the immense value you provide others, I think those are the people who will find this to be an interesting conversation.
Welcome to this session. We're here to talk about successful business, the Go Giver Way. So we're here with the author of the book, The Go Giver, Bob Burg. So welcome, Bob. I'm really looking forward to diving into the Go Giver Way.
Hi, Sam. Thank you. Great to be with you.
Let's start off by sharing. I'd love you to share a little bit about who this would be for and why they want to stick around.
Well, it's for those people who really understand that they have a service that holds a lot of value to their customers and clients. They love knowing that it really helps another person in that person's life. And that when they can focus on providing value to others, they also are going to do very, very well financially. And so they realize it's not an either or. I'm either really doing great things for people or I'm making a lot of money. No, it's as John David Mann, my awesome co-author of the Go Giver says, money is simply an echo of value, right? It's the thunder, if you will, to value's lightning. So for those people who really want to provide a lot of value and then understand that money is simply the result of the immense value you provide others, I think those are the people who will find this to be an interesting conversation.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, let's start with setting the context for anyone that hasn't read the book. And by the way, if you haven't read The Go Giver, go give it a go. Actually, that sounded really terrible. Just go read it. It's a very easy to read parable. I really enjoyed it. And I believe you've got all different versions of The Go Giver. Yeah, super cool. What do you mean by the term The Go Giver? And how does the principle really help you build a successful business?
Really, it comes down to this. It's that shifting your focus. And I think this is really where it all begins, Sam. Shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of way out there, woo-woo, magical, mystical kind of reasons. Oh, just be a good person and give and good thing. No, it's not that at all. It's actually much more rational than that. It's more logical than that. It's that, when you are that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on serving others, discovering their needs, their wants, their desires. When you can make it not about you, but about helping others to solve and overcome their challenges and problems. When it's not about you, but instead moving other people closer to happiness, people feel good about you. They feel great about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you. But you know what? They want to tell the world about you. They want to be what we call your personal walking ambassador.
Actually, just before we go on, when you're talking about giving, can you break down what you mean by that? Do you mean giving gifts? Do you mean giving service? Do you mean giving referrals? Do you mean all of that? Is there anything specific that people need to think about when they're thinking about giving forward?
Well, when you think about it, and as we've mentioned the word value a number of times, right? And the first law is the law of value, right? Which says your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Well, so let's talk about that because this really answers your question. Give more in value than you take in payment. Now that sounds rather counterintuitive. Doesn't it? Give more in value than I take in payment. That sounds like a recipe for going out of business is what it sounds like.
Or burnout.
Until we recognize that there's a big difference between price and value. Okay, see, price is a dollar figure. It's a dollar amount or whatever currency a person's in their country. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this, whether we're talking product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to someone that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did, while you also make a healthy profit? Well, and that's when you're doing business with someone. But even as you're building the relationship, what are you giving? You're giving to that person excellence in terms of how you make them feel about themselves. You're consistent in what you do. You pay attention to them. Okay. What is it about them? Who are they? And what do they find to be of value? And how can you help them with that? And it may be with a suggestion. It might be some advice. It might be a listening ear. It might be a referral. It might be an introduction. You know, who knows? It's, you're giving empathy and you're giving appreciation. So all these things you're giving. And this is at every single part of the process. It's sort of every touch point. So from the minute you first meet someone, through the relationship building process, the follow up and follow through, the sales process, the referral process, what have you, to the degree that you're giving in a way that this person wants to be given to, that's the degree they find you to be of value. So when we say that, value is relative, right? It simply means value is always in the eyes of the beholder. So when you say, well, what value, what can you give to people? What do they want?
Yeah, I love
Right?
that.
It's not what we want. What we think is of value, it's what they feel is of value.
Now, that was the first principle. You talk about 5 of them in your book, the 5 principles to stratospheric success. So the first one is to give value. Can you briefly take us through the other 4?
Sure. The law of compensation says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number 1 says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number 2 tells us that the more people whose lives we touch with the exceptional value we provide, the more money with which we'll be rewarded. So let's say someone's a business coach and they have a client and they charge a certain fee for this, and hopefully it's a healthy fee, and they provide so much value to that person who they're coaching. That person's business goes way up as far as financial. That person's enjoying their business more. They have more time to enjoy their business. They feel better about themselves, right? That's the value that you're giving them. Okay. So by the time it's all said and done, they feel as though they've received much more in value than what they've paid for. While again, you, the coach, has made a very healthy profit. That's the law of value. But law number 2 takes it a step further. It says it's not just providing that kind of exceptional value to one client. It means you're touching the lives of a whole lot of people, right? In The Go-Giver, Nicole, who was the CEO in the story, one of the several mentors that Joe, the protege, met, Nicole explained to Joe that the law of value represents your potential income, but it's the law of compensation represents your actual income, because it's about the number of lives you impact. We could say actually exceptional value plus significant reach, right? Laws 1 and 2 equals very high compensation.
Which is law 3.
That's law of not right, exactly. Law 3 is the law of influence. And this says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, again, what? Your influence by putting other people's interests first. Well, what does that even mean? Well, so first, let me qualify that. When we say place the other person's interests first, we certainly don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at all. It's simply, as Joe learned from several of the mentors in the story, the golden rule of business, of sales, if you will, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And Sam, you know this very well. There's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus, looking to, as Sam, another of the mentors, advised Joe, making your win all about the other person's win.
So good. So good. And then the 5th law.
Actually, 4th, I think we're on next.
Okay,
so we've
got
the law of value, law of no, I messed up because I went kind of a law of value, law of compensation, law of influence, and next is law of authenticity.
There we go.
And this one says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. In this part of the story, the mentor was Deborah, and she shared with actually Joe, but it was during a speech she was giving. She had shared a very important lesson she learned early in her sales career, and that is all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are indeed all very, very important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But
Mm,
when you do, when you show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, people not only feel good about you, Sam, they feel comfortable with you and they feel safe with you. And why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting. And that's such a powerful element of human nature. We want to understand our world. Consistency is so very key to building and maintaining trust. So, but I also want to take this another step if I can, because I think the term authenticity, and it's a word that you hear so
a
much,
lot.
right? And
Yeah.
I think the meaning of it has almost been
I think it's almost been distilled. Like people don't
just
really understand what it means anymore. The opposite of distilled. Sorry, it's been sort of weakened. Said the wrong
yeah.
word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's okay. It's so true what you're saying. See, I think authenticity these days has come to mean no boundaries. Just say or
Mm,
do whatever you want, whatever you please. It doesn't matter who you
hmm.
offend or who you upset or what, because it's authentic. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that's taking it out of context. This would be like the person who says, well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot. And if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me. That's
Mm.
totally wrong, right? It simply means this person has an authentic problem
Yeah.
that they need to authentically work on in order
Yeah,
to become
totally.
a better, higher, authentic version of themselves. So we
Yeah.
we never want
Nice.
people to take the word authentic or authenticity and use that as an excuse for not growing, right? But
Totally.
instead use it as impetus to go to that next level. My definition of authenticity, for whatever it's worth, is simply acting congruently with your values.
Hmm.
And I think if you do that, you're on the right track.
I really like that. The word that I was looking for was diluted, not distilled, just to
Yeah.
close the gap for
I,
anyone
I,
that was like, I know what she's trying to say.
No, she's right. In context, it made perfect sense. Absolutely.
Excellent. I'm glad. And then I've got this
The-
right this time, the fifth law.
yeah, that's the law of receptivity. And the law of receptivity says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And Sam,
Mm,
this means nothing more than simply understanding that, yeah, you breathe out, you also have to breathe in, right? It's
yeah.
not one or the other. It's an and. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving, you breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. They're two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. Now, unfortunately, the world around us, I don't know how it is in Australia, the beautiful land down under where you live, but I know in the States and in different places people share with me, there's this anti prosperity kind of message that the world just gives off all the time. And, whether it's a combination of upbringing, environment, schooling, social media, television, look at the movies. My friend Randy Gage, who's an authority on prosperity thinking, abundance thinking, he has this great vignette he tells about how every movie, every big selling movie typically has two basic characters. There are the good people who are generally portrayed as poor, struggling,
Mm,
but
hmm.
honest and rather happy, but they're always being taken advantage of, stepped on, stepped over, put down, pushed around by who? The evil rich people who are nasty and
Totally.
horrible and greedy and just right have no soul. And those are the messages. So when you get these messages and really they're just they're abundant in their anti-abundance, right? And
Right.
And it gets into the head, it gets into not only the conscious, but the unconscious.
Subconscious.
And so people are fighting their own, their own anti-prosperity messages where they don't even know they exist. And that's the most
Right.
insidious aspect of all. So I'm a big believer in really making a study of prosperity. And there are people like Randy Gage, like Ellen Rogan, like Sharon Lecter, like David Nagel, like Lisa Peterson, Ken Honda, all these great David Nagel, all these great prosperity teachers who, my suggestion is subscribe to their blogs, their podcasts, get their article, watch their videos, because it's a message. When we get all these messages, this garbage that comes in, is this anti-prosperity garbage from the world around us, it's always coming in. We can't help but be affected by it. Okay. So
Yeah.
we've got to proactively get the good pro-prosperity, pro-abundance information into our heads and into our hearts. And then we're operating out of strength and consciousness as opposed to, unconscious past messaging.
Totally. I love that you really touched on that last piece, because it's so important. These messages, we don't even know, these patterns that are running, we don't even know they're running. And it can really affect us and our business. We're specifically talking about brands in this summit, but when we're playing these patterns, it affects our brand, because it means that we can't then go on and influence and, give referrals, get referrals, or receive referrals, all of these sorts of things. So talking about referrals, we love them as business owners. I've never met a business owner that doesn't love getting referrals. But what would you say is the main advantage of working with referral prospects?
Yeah, well, this is the exact reason. You make a great point. It's the exact reason why we love referrals, right? Referrals have a number of great benefits. 4 of them that I like to point out are that, first, with referred prospects, it's easier to set the appointment, right? You're going in on borrowed influence. So rather than all the prospecting, the calling, the sending, and so forth, right? You just you're right there in that person's office or home or what have you. So it's easier to set the appointment due to borrowed influence. The second benefit to working with a referred prospect is that price or fee is typically less of an issue. Again, that borrowed influence combined with borrowed trust, you come in with some gravitas already, some real credibility. So rather than having to sell on low price, which is always a race to the bottom, you can sell on high value. Remember, when you sell on low price, you're a commodity. When you sell on high value, you're a resource. So very important. The
Love
third
that.
benefit, third benefit to working with a referred prospect, Sam, is that it's simply easier to complete the sale. Why? Well, that's borrowed trust, or what we call vicarious experience. So no, this person has never worked with you before, but someone who they know, like, and trust has said, oh, this is the only person you need to see. They're fantastic. They know their stuff. Their service is terrific, and they care about you, and they have your well-being at heart, right? And that's, fantastic. Now, the fourth one is that referred prospects are already of the mindset that that's how you do business, since that's how they met you. So in their world, as they understand the world, right? You meet your prospects through introduction. You sell on high value rather than low price. You complete the sale. And assuming you handle everything correctly, you are then referred to others as a natural part of the process. So it's much easier for them to refer you.
Love that. It's like the reflection of exactly what's happening. So you've got a specific way of asking for referrals and also for obtaining referrals.
Yeah.
I'd love you to share that, because, you've set the context there of why it's good to get them. But so many people say, now tell me, how do we do this?
No, that's important because, there can be a lot of fear that comes from asking for referrals because most people just don't know how to ask correctly. And I was the same before I learned. So we all begin at that same place. So the first thing I like to do, and that I suggest to people, until you are really used to asking for referrals and feel very comfortable with just going in and asking right away, is to first use what I call the referral bridge or bridge phrase. What is a bridge? Well, in the physical world, a bridge is a structure that transports a person from one safe piece of land to another safe piece of land. So in the referral world, a bridge is a phrase or a phrase, we'll say, that transports a person from one safe piece of land where your customer or client knows, likes, and trusts you, okay, to another safe piece of land where they feel comfortable and you feel comfortable with the referral process. So
Mm.
let me share with you the bridge phrase, and then we'll kind of go back and look at why it works. So the basic bridge phrase is, Dave, as more and more of my business is now through referrals and introductions, I find it helpful to partner with my friends and clients such as you. Can we take a few quick minutes and run past the names of some other people I might also be able to help? Now, let's go back to that first part. And by the way, that first sentence, which is, Dave, as more and more of my business is now through referrals and introductions. If that's not the case right now, okay, and so you just don't feel comfortable saying that, you can substitute that for right now with, Dave, I'm in the process of expanding my
Mm.
referral business, because you are. Okay. So, either way, you're letting Dave in on what you're going to be asking. So you're making him very comfortable with the process. Now, when you say, and again, very soon you will have a bunch of referrals. So you can say, as more and more of my business is now through referrals and introductions, you've set a frame that, yes, this is how I do business. Right. So again, it makes this person much more comfortable with the process. Dave, as more
Mhm.
and more of my business is now through referrals and introductions, I find it helpful. Okay. So you're not begging for referrals. You're not desperate. But I find it helpful to partner. Partner is a key word because you're giving this person who knows, likes, and trusts you and who wants to help his friends, her friends, because you offer a great service. You're giving them buy-in into your success. I find it helpful to partner with my friends and clients such as you. Now, by the way, if this person's not a client yet, they can still refer you, depending if, as long as they know, like, and trust you. You would just say, my friends such as you. So my friends such as you. Uh, can we take then the third part? Let me go back so we can, in case, so it's easier for people to follow along with it. So Dave, as more
Yep.
and more of my business is now through referrals and introductions, I find it helpful to partner with my friends and clients such as you. Okay, now the next part's really key. Can we take a few quick minutes and run past the names? Okay, now this is what I call fast language or quick language. You're not saying it fast, but the words you use imply that you will not be taking up a lot of his valuable time. Okay, which is going to, again, make him feel a lot easier about this. Listen to these quick words. Can we take a few quick minutes and run past? Okay. And then the names of some other people I might also be able to help. Now, notice I said might. I
Yes.
didn't
So
say
important.
definitely. Well, yeah, I
Mm.
want to give them, I want to imply the out or back door. You always want to make this person feel very comfortable who's going to be referring you business, to let them know, hey, I realize not everybody's going to be interested in what I sell, and I'm never going to make you look bad by trying to come across, inappropriately or hard sell to someone who just isn't interested. And that's why I was saying, who might
Totally.
be I might be able to help. Now, at this point, you most likely have his buy-in. Now, he might reflexively say something like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I know anybody, and so what you do is you just don't interrupt, of course. You listen to what the person says, take a breath, right? And then you simply say, oh, that's fine. Actually, I'm going to give you a couple of really easy ways to come up with some people who might really appreciate this. And if not, that's okay too. We could always do it another time. So again, we're always making them feel comfortable. We're giving them the out or back door. But the chances are, and at that point, you're going to go into the asking, or he's going to say, oh, okay, that's fine. Now is where we ask for referrals and where the biggest mistake is made, and what I did when I first started in sales. Okay. And this is 40 years ago. And so what most people do, and what I did at first, was to say, so Dave, who do you know, or do you know anybody who, might be interested in, or whatever it would happen to be? And what he does is he thinks about it, and thinks about it really hard, because remember, he wants to help, right? And thinks about it really hard, and he's struggling. And finally he says, well, I can't think of anybody right now, but when
Mm.
I do, I'll call, or I'll let you know. And it usually doesn't happen. Now, does it ever? Sure, it could, but that's not where we
Not
want to
often.
go.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it's not that person's fault. And this is what I had first read in a book. I read this book about 40 years ago when I first started in sales, and it was by a guy named Tom Hopkins, who you've probably heard of. He's one of the legends in the sales space, and his book was How to Master the Art of Selling.
Mm-hmm.
And he devoted only about half a page to this concept, and it was a game changer for me and for the many, many people who he's taught this to and who I've been fortunate to teach this to. When you say, do you know anybody who, or who do you know? Well, most people know 250, 300 people directly or indirectly, right? So when you say, who do you know, or do you know anybody who, a collage of 250, 300 nameless, faceless people go dancing past their head. They can't identify anyone. And so
Yeah.
now they start really putting the pressure on themselves. I really want to have it right. And you know how the memory works, right? The more pressure you put on yourself, the more the memory shuts down. Isn't
Checks
that right?
out.
Checks out, exactly. So what Tom suggests is that we gently funnel down their world into small groups of people they can easily identify in their mind's eye.
Mm.
So let's just go through an example. We'll continue with Dave, who is our client. And again, we've gotten to know Dave. We know some of Dave's hobbies, groups he belongs to, the different, right? And we go into the meeting with him, our sales conversation with him or whatever, already knowing what we're going to ask and in the frames or that we're going to use. And so we might say, Dave, I know you're an avid golfer, aren't you? And he goes, oh yeah, I love golf. I'm out there on the links every Sunday afternoon. Do you play with different people or with the same? Oh no, same force. He can't wait to tell you, right? Same foursome all the time. Myself, Harry Brown, Dr. Mary Ruart, Michael Cloud, the four of us, we have been playing golf together for a year, right? He's excited. He loves golf. So now he's just identified three people. So now we might say, well, do you feel that either Harry or Dr. Mary or Michael would any of them, do you feel and then whatever your services, be open to, be interested in, want to know more about, or whatever that would be. Now, here's the thing. Maybe all three, maybe none of them, maybe one of them or two, it doesn't matter. By this time, you've given him confidence. He's won, right? You've given him a victory. He's been able to come up
Yes.
with names. Right now, let's go to another funnel, another frame, right? He's a member of his Rotary Club. Now, you don't ask, is there anyone in Rotary? It could be too big a Rotary, but you might ask, is there anyone in your Rotary who you're great friends with, maybe sit next to every time or serve on a committee with? So he immediately comes up with two names. And you ask if either of them. Now, again, maybe both, maybe one, maybe none. Let's go to another frame. We know he is chair of the board of his local animal rescue organization.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He tells us there's four people who serve with him on the board. Well, four is an easy number. So he can identify those four. So we just say, Dave, go through those four in your mind's eye. Which of them, if any, you can remember, if any, it's that out or back door, if any, do you feel might be open to or be interested in or could benefit from, what have you? And so you can go through this. And so eventually comes up with a name or two. And now the floodgates start to open because one person reminds them of someone else who reminds them of someone else. And again, you can be asking, depending upon your type of service, you can be asking, people he knows and other businesses that are his that do what he does. You can ask, you could ask him, you go the job alphabet, who's his accountant or be his banker, chiropractor, dentist, electrician. It could be, and again, depending upon what you do, the service that you offer. And again, depending upon the relationship with this person and how the conversation's going, it might be appropriate to only maybe take 2 or 3 referrals right there. You'll come back or it might be fine to just keep going. You'll be the judge of that. But once the names are exhausted, now go back and ask him for information on that person, the contact information, but also information about them, why he feels they would value this, and so forth. So that then when you reach out to them, you've already got that, and so forth. So that's the basics of how to ask for referrals in such a way that not only do people not tell you, I can't think of anybody right now, but when I do, I'll get back with you, but they actually come up with good, high quality names.
I love the container you're putting around that because people genuinely do love to help. And exactly like you said, when you're giving them that container of let's just think about this tiny little thing, it helps them go, I got that right, and they get that beautiful feeling. And then, of course, once you've had that feeling, it's like, oh, I want to do that again. I can feel how
Exactly.
yeah, I can really feel how that works. I know that you've got a freebie, and I know that people that have stayed with us for this will be like, oh my goodness, I need to be in Bob's world a little bit more. I love what he's talking about. I know that I can learn so much. Can you just share a little bit about what you've got?
Yeah, well, I just do a daily impact email Mondays through Fridays. And no matter where you are in the world, they come out at 5 a.m. into your mailbox. And so you can have them over your coffee or tea or read them throughout the day. And it's a jolt of sales, of business, of personal development, communication skills, and so forth. So they usually take about 30 minutes to a minute to read. And it's just a way to start your day.
Love it. So the link for that is just below if you would like to receive that daily impact mail. Bob, thanks so much for coming and sharing your Go Giver, I guess, method or the Go Giver way with us today. I absolutely
Thank
love
you.
it. It's something that I've believed. I've been in business for over 30 years, and it definitely does work when you're adding value to people's lives. Not specifically your way until I read the book, but it's just the world is the more that we can do this, the better we can make the world, I guess is what I'm trying to say in a very
Yeah.
roundabout way.
No, I think you said it very well. It helps it's that rising tide that lifts all
That lifts all
boats.
boats.
That is
Yeah.
how it.
Love it. Thanks so much, Bob, for coming today.
Thank you, Sam.